Some of the unusual genetic mutations are so odd that they inspired some of the myths in literature and movies that we know today. From what caused the werewolf myth to become popular to a condition that the Odyssey could have been hinting at, here are 10 real people with shocking genetic mutations. 10. Hypertrichosis. If you have difficulty with the name hypertrichosis, this unusual genetic mutation has two other names: Ambras syndrome, or as it's most commonly known, werewolf syndrome. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, those with hypertrichosis were perceived as freaks and only found work as circus sideshow performers, such as Julia Pastrana. 1 in a billion people in the world is affected by the condition. It's believed that only about 50 cases have been documented since the Middle Ages, which is mostly around the time that people started shouting werewolf at anything and anyone who was unusual looking. Hypertrichosis results in people having excess amounts of hair on their faces, shoulders, and ears. The genetic mutation goes a little like this. As their hair follicles form in the eyebrow, which happens when a fetus is 3 months old, a rearrangement of chromosome happens due to disruption of crosstalk. In those other billion people, our bodies ignore the message to form excessive follicles, as signals are sent to prevent the area around it from becoming a follicle as well, which results in the spacing out of 5 million follicles. 9. Ectrodactyly. Once known as lobster claw hand, ectrodactyly is a disorder whose individuals have a cleft where their middle fingers or toes should be. This malformation can manifest in many forms. There have been cases with only the thumb with one finger, usually the little finger. There are several cases behind this split hand and split foot malformation, including translocations, deletions, and inversions in chromosomes. 8. Lunar Tan Syndrome. Most popularly described in a 2006 BBC Two documentary entitled The Family That Walks on All Fours, Lunar Tan Syndrome is exactly what you'd expect. It's a syndrome that causes people to walk on all fours. Not only that, but in addition to walking in quadrupedal locomotion, but they also use primitive forms of speech and have a congenital brain impairment. As described by doctors, the genetic nature of this syndrome suggests a backward stage in human evolution, which is most probably caused by a genetic mutation, rendering. In turn, the transition from quadrupedality to bipedality, this would then be consistent with theories of punctuated evolution. 7. Epidermal dysplasia visuciformis. In 2007, a 34-year-old Indonesian man called Dede Koirwasa went viral. The following year, he underwent surgery to have 13 pounds of these strange warts over his body removed. He had horns and lesions growing all over his head, hands, torso, and feet. After the surgery was done, his hands had to be grafted with entirely new skin. Wood and horn-like growths and wart-like lesions grow all over the hands, feet, and even faces of those who suffer from the rare disorder. This unique genetic condition makes people prone to HPV infection. It's this infection that makes the wood and horn-like growths. Scaly mascules, papules grow on people's bodies with reddish and brown pigment plaques. This disorder makes itself known between the age of 20 to 40, and the growths usually have a tendency to appear in areas that have been exposed to sun. To date, there is no known cure for this mutation, but treatments to curb the growths are possible. 6. Boy in the Bubble Disease. We all remember the 1976 film The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Well, it's based on the true story lives of David Vedder and Ted DeFita. You may recognize the plot of the film: a young boy who has to live in a plastic bubble in isolation because his life would be threatened if he was exposed to unfiltered air and life-threatening pathogens. This is a real-life genetic mutation, and in which individuals are born with an ineffective immune system. Though real-life, David Vedder lived for 13 years with this condition. In 1984, he died after an attempt to help him fight infections after a bone marrow transplant went awry. The boy in the bubble disease has a number of genes working to cause it, including the genes that cause defects in T and B cells response, which have negative effects on the production of a type of white blood cell called lymphocytes. 5. Lesch-Nyhan. 1 in every 380,000 of births suffer from this genetic disorder, and nearly all of them are boys. LNS results in an overproduction of uric acid. Uric acid is a waste byproduct, and it's formed when your body breaks down purines, which are found in some foods. Most of uric acid leaves your body when you go to the bathroom. Those who have high levels of uric acid can have a disease named gout. Individuals with Lesch-Nyhan have this process all mixed up. Their bodies release excess uric acid through their blood instead, which results in the buildup under the skin, causing gouty arthritis. Those who suffer with Lesch-Nyhan syndrome start to show signs and complications within the first year of life, and by the second year, LNS manifests in self-mutilating behaviors such as lip and finger biting. There are neurological symptoms as well, including poor muscle control, involuntary writhing, grimacing, and repetitive movements of the arms, legs, not unlike those seen in Huntington's disease. For the gout aspect of the condition, it can be treated with allopurinol, but the neurological and behavioral aspects have no treatments. 4. Proteus Syndrome. The elephant man Joseph Merrick is believed to have had this disease. Proteus Syndrome is a condition in which bones and skin are severely overgrown. Organs and tissue grow out of proportion with the rest of the body, and with no particular system, which results in imbalanced features, such as the elephant man. The severity varies from one person to another, and the condition doesn't make itself known until about 6 to 18 months after birth, and it only occurs in less than 1 in 1 million people. A mutation in the AKT1 gene, which is a gene responsible for cell growth, causes mosaicism. So, when cells are supposed to grow and divide, some cells mutate while others don't. This mix of mutated and normal cells causes the overgrowth. 3. Trimethylaminaria. This is one extremely rare disorder. So rare, in fact, that there is no estimation of its rate. But if someone has trimethylaminaria standing beside you, you'll know. The other name for trimethylaminaria is the fish odor syndrome. People with this genetic condition's bodies aren't able to break down the pungent smell trimethylene, which smells like garbage, rotting eggs, urine, or rotting fish. Trimethylaminaria can be found in body secretions such as sweat, breath, and urine. For women who suffer from this condition, it's usually more severe, and the pungent quality of these odors, for a reason unknown, peaks before and during menstrual periods and after taking oral contraceptives. 2. Progeria. In Greek, progeria means permanently aged. Progeria is a fatal disease that by the time the individual is 2 years old, they start showing symptoms of aging. By the age they reach 14, they usually die of heart disease. This happens once in every 4 to 8 million infants, and there's no cure for it. The heart isn't the only thing that is affected. The accelerated aging occurs all over the body. Physical characteristics are most affected. You'll find people with progeria have large ears, small chins, small noses, and prominent eyes. Their skin appears aged, and they show a loss of fat beneath it. It doesn't affect intelligence or motor skills in any way. While there's no cure, there are some treatments for symptoms. To avoid skin conditions, sunscreen is advised. Exercise and diet helps. Shoe padding adds comfort while walking. There are heart treatments and therapy that can be used to help with joints. 1. Cyclopia. Most of us are familiar with the name Cyclops from movies and literature, but an extremely rare condition inspired the myth in the first place. The Odyssey may have been speaking about a very rare condition called Cyclopia. Individuals who suffer from Cyclopia are born with 2 undivided ears or 1 control eye. Most often, they won't have a nose, but they instead have a similar structure above their eyes. Cyclopia occurs once in every 100,000 people. It can be diagnosed prematurely using ultrasound and sonography, and more often than not, the infants are either aborted or are stillborn. Those who are born die very soon after birth, as Cyclopia is related to other fatal conditions. And that's a wrap on the unusual genetic mutations that we have for you today. What do you think of them? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and before you go, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to Weeklypedia and click that notification bell to be alerted whenever we upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.